Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual San Diego, California. Tonight, the Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series rolls into one of the most unique and visually striking racetracks in all of motorsports, the Naval Base Coronado here in the virtual San Diego, California for the Greater Vancouver Motorsports Pioneer Society Base 129 here on Green Flag TV. I'm your host, Brad Daniels, and alongside me is James Newton, and behind the scenes, Nolan Rempel is making us sound and look great here tonight. And first things first, James, we got a very unique track on the docket, but how are you feeling coming into tonight?
Well, I was catching up with some of the drivers. There's one of the answers right there, 107 degrees on track. Very, very toasty here on the coast. We also saw an ominous and terrifying look at one of the carriers that make up this naval base, as we get a really good look there, just how close they are to that carrier corner. This is a special one. The walls are daunting and ready to greet the drivers if they make any mistakes, and I have yet to talk to a driver who is comfortable around this track.
Yeah, not many drivers are going to be happy about this one, and maybe trying to get some good points after last week. Coming from Indianapolis, where Kazunaya Noshu was able to kiss the virtual bricks and take a stellar win away from Adam Boislard and Nick Hoffman. And all that being said and done, he did get some milk at the end of the day. But after that win, his first of the season in his first race in that 2026 season, you could see the schedule here. Coming the Qualcomm circuit here to Naval Base Coronado, a wild card to say the least for these drivers before they get into the Highline Diecast in-season bracket challenge at Iowa, Richmond, and all those other tracks that are typical, oval circuits after this. And, all being said and done, Qualcomm circuit is going to be an interesting one with the 16 turns and almost 3.5 miles for these drivers to get around. But, James, looking at this schedule, Qualcomm is just an asterisk. I'm going to put an asterisk by it because looking at the rest of this schedule here, it's kind of a grind to get through the in-season bracket challenge, starting with Iowa next week and comparative to the tracks we've already been to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also shows you just how much the drivers have to try to contend with different types of racetracks, right? Even when, people talk about ovals, they're all completely different. You got the flatness of New Hampshire. Richmond is a little bit shorter. Daytona is, the draft fest that when we go down to Florida there. Darlington, all of these tracks have their own unique thing. But again, as you said, the king of uniqueness with this run in particular has got to be Qualcomm circuit.
And a couple drivers, we've looking at the driver standings right now. Those drivers who currently we're going to start getting more and more into the cut line at the end of the season. But for right now, the top 10 looking pretty with 2 of the 3 season winners so far, Munati Major and Nick Kaufman, both at the top of the the standings here. Nick Kaufman leading the rookies as well, leaving his Mark II races ago. But for now, it's a lot of drivers who might have been in the playoffs last year with a lot of new, fresh faces. Comparative for some of those drivers like Garrett Austin. We haven't talked about him too much this season, doing great in P number 6, along with James Goodwin, who was in last season's playoffs, and along with Bryce Hedgecock, the rookie here. He's trying to get himself into that top 10 by the end of the season. And also note that Vincent Motorsports machine of Jeremiah Vincent currently sitting at that beautiful 10th place position, trying to hold himself in the top 10 after tonight. And all things said and done, there's a lot of things that a lot of drivers have to worry about here at Qualcomm circuit. But for now, we're going to talk about some of the sponsors here that have kept the lights on for us in the booth and keeping our drivers here on the track, starting with the Highline Diecast Collectibles, the season-long sponsor for the Season 6 of the Speed Cup Series, brought to you by Highline Diecast Collectibles, your go-to source of high-quality NASCAR diecasts and memorabilia. Whether you're hunting for the latest releases, rare finds, or looking to sell your own collection, they've got you covered. Plus, don't miss their live auctions every week on Facebook and whatnot, where you can score incredible deals and must-have collectibles and place your pre-orders on NASCAR's latest diecast at highlinediecast.com, where passion for racing meets collectible perfection. And tonight's race sponsor as well, the Greater Vancouver Motorsports Pioneer Society. Thank you for them for sponsoring the long 129 miles these drivers will be taking on here at Qualcomm Circuit. as qualifying is starting to wrap up here. A lot of drivers were fast in practice, but, like you said, James, it was very hot in practice. The temperatures are starting to slowly go down, and now to 107 degrees as we take a turn, it looks like, into the grid here. And as we start out, as we're going to look at the front row here, the winner of the Beach Mode Baseball Pole Position Award is going to be the 17 of Nate Lesko from Intentional Wreck Podcast. As we get into tonight's action, Beach Mode Baseball is a youth travel baseball organization built around one simple mission: taking young athletes to unforgettable destinations, creating lifelong memories, and competing at some of the best tournaments across the country. Congratulations to Nate Lesko for winning tonight's Beach Mode Baseball Pole Award. And they'll lead their way to the green flag here tonight and have the best seat in the house as we get this race underway. To learn more about Beach Mode Baseball and follow all of the action from our teams and tournaments, be sure to check us out on Facebook and TikTok by searching Beach Mode Baseball. Beach Mode Baseball is proud to support tonight's event, and we wish all of the drivers the best of luck. So let's look at the rest of this grid here tonight. Jordan Fisher from iRacing trying to follow up last week and get into a good position, starting P number 2 on the front row. In row number 2, Philip Scott in P3, and Ethan Amber are going to be lining to his outside in P4. Row number 3, the last week's winner, Cosmin Ayanoshu for FTF Racing in P5. Christopher Darling in the 33, going to be starting in P number 6. P7, the 88 of Jeremiah Hobbs, his Speed Cup Series debut, starting in P number 7, along with Bryce Hedgecock, the rookie, going to be in P number 8. And rounding out your top 10 is Jake Nipris and Martin Plute in the 81.
Gonna have a look now here at just outside the top 10. It's gonna be Josiah Vincent in the 4 for Vincent Motorsport, lining up 11. 12th is Jeremiah Vincent in the number 8 Vincent Motorsport machine. Tyler Cadd in the 16 lines up 13th alongside the 11 of James Goodwin for 14th. 15th belongs to the 34 of Garrett Austin for Gold Octopus. Vincent Motorsport driver Joey Barrett in the 97 lines up 16th. 17th is Quinton Xavier Sylvia in the number 5 Intentional Wreck Podcast machine. Stacy Hunter lines up alongside in 18th position in the 71. Then it's Corey Hutchinson in 19th, and 20th is Adam Kulikowski.
And then running through the final 10 cars on the grid here tonight, Terrell Wheeler going to be starting in P21. Justin Mello in the 53 and P22. In row number 12, the 2 of Nick Kaufman trying to keep his championship's hopes up, along with the current champion, the current leader right now, Munazzi Major in the 82. Both going to be lining up in row number 12. Mark McFadden going to be lining up in the 22, and the 19 of Scott Leonard, at least for now, going to be in P26 to start. Ryan Newman in the Gold Octopus Motorsports Machine 15 starts in P27. Tim Branson in the Wrecked Motorsports 92 in P28. And then that rounding out your field here tonight, 23 of Ben Mashburn in the 23. In the 87, the rookie of Jeremy Canute in the 87. And, James, it will be a night. A lot of things will bring up throughout the race, as this is the typical race that, not a lot of these drivers are used to. One thing that we have to note, obviously, the caution laps, if there is any, 3.5 miles under caution is going to take a long time. But there are no iRacing cautions here tonight, but to sprinkle in a little bit of interest from the drivers and to shake up a little bit of the strategy calls, there will be a caution at some point, or at least a random caution, not set at a specific lap, for these drivers to kind of plan on, as you see all the dust being kicked up behind all of these next gens. So, as all of these cars keep winding their way through this naval base, James, is there one thing that you think these drivers will keep in the back of their mind here tonight?
I think the track position is going to be a big deal. Obviously, these Cup cars are about as quick as it gets when it comes to the NASCAR stock car stable, if you will. Turn 1's going to be especially tricky, trying to make sure that you make it through one of the fast, if not the fastest corner on the track, that really long right-hander. And the bumps are going to be something to contend with. Looks like the dust, didn't have that on my bingo card, but the dust looks like maybe something to contend with first couple laps, as the sweeps of these next gens will be out there getting that taken care of. And Yeah, I think this is going to be quite tricky. Well over 2 minutes for a lap around here. So we actually talked off air a little earlier that if something goes wrong halfway around the lap, especially if you're not up to race pace because of some kind of damage, it is a while to get back to the pits. So as we see that really tight Red Bull section there as well, this is quite the task getting around here.
Yeah, setting up those passing areas and trying to figure out when you can make those passes, I think, will also be an important part, as we are still getting through turns number, now going into turns number 9 and 10, and each different set of corners are not any like the rest on this track. It's just a lot of different things going on here when it comes to track surface might be changing, along with just how you're getting set up for the next corner, if it's a immediate left hand or if you're going into a chicane. The Naval Base Coronado has a lot going on here, but especially under these caution laps, a lot of these drivers have to remember you're too wide, just getting through some of these caution through this yellow flag. But all things said and done, a lot of eyes will be on this 35 of Jordan Fisher, who was the fastest in practice. But Nate Lesko was able to take home that Beach Mode Baseball pole position award by almost 0.4 of a second away from Jordan Fisher. And those two, I think, are going to be the ones you want to keep your eyes on through the entirety of this race. But there's really a lot of hungry drivers in this top 10 that were fast in practice. It's just going to be, can they keep that car clean? Because like you said, James, we're going to have to, if you really get into that wall into turn number 2, you got about 3 more minutes of trying to nurse that thing back to pit road.
Yeah, definitely. And I believe we're looking at a potential 1 stop for today. So anything other than 1 stop may kind of hinder your chances of a really strong result. And interestingly, having a look at the championship standings, I believe 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th position, almost half of the top 10 have yet to get a top 5 this season. Obviously, it's still very early on in the season, but kind of an interesting look at just how much being consistent can really bring, it's not about really winning all the races. It's just about really kind of staying up near the front.
A lot of these drivers going to try and set themselves up for success here in San Diego. We are green in San Diego for the Greater Vancouver Motorsports. Pioneers Society Base 129 and Jordan Fisher and Nate Lesko on the front row, still side by side. Actually, the 35 able to take a commanding lead through turn number 1.
Yeah, Fisher getting a really good jump. Nate Lesko falling back to P2, but very tidy for at least 5 or 6 up. A little bit of a bump there from the rookie, the debutant, Jeremiah Hobbs in the 88. Trying to have a look at the back of Ionoshu. Nothing doing there, but a little bit of a hurry up, as they seem to all have gotten through there very cleanly.
Yeah, the tightness of this track, we'll keep saying time and time again. But all that being said and done, if you're going side by side in one of these corners, you got to make sure you got a good handle on that cars. You can see everyone through the entirety of the field trying to keep themselves in one piece, all single filed, at least as they come through turns number 4, and everyone approaching turn number 5 now. Single file and keeping themselves consistent right now. No big incidents to really note as of yet. But you can see this battle from third on back still ongoing, all being helmed by Philip Scott and Ethan Amberg, Cosmin Ionoshu, all closing in on the 99 as they can. Ooh, Ionoshu gets a little tight coming through turn number 6 there. But it looks like all things are sound for the 24 right now, outside of the 33 of Christopher Darling. Still trying to give that Tiltify 24 machine a little bit of anxiety. But Jordan Fisher now pulling out to almost a second and a half, now a second and a half officially ahead of the 17 of Nate Lesko, as they come through one of the many chicanes here in Naval Base Coronado. Everyone keeping it clean so far. No one in the tire barrier yet. Looks like we're all clean for now, as everyone now is going to be making their way into turns number 14 and 15. Look at these great action shots as everyone passes on by and tries to avoid those tire barriers.
Yeah, trying to get these tires up to operating temperature. And what a fantastic spot for racing. It really is, as you said earlier, all of these corners have their own unique, not just the way that they look, but just physically the way you get around them. You have to approach them a little bit differently. You have to make sure that you know exactly where you are on track as we sling our way through onto the start-finish line. That was a full lap just now, and drivers are going to have to go back around 37 more times. All the bumps, almost getting a little bit of air, I think, on the front. I don't think that those front wheels are touching the ground unless it's a little bit of a trick of the camera. But obviously, you need those fronts for hanging a left at carrier corner. So you're going to get the replay.
We're just looking here into from turn 1 going down the straight into turn number 2, and you'll just see how much air these cars get going down that straight. And you know, these cars are a brick house pretty much. You know, they're one of the heaviest cars you can kind of feel around and drive on these circuits. And we'll take a look here as just the absolute airtime of the 4 of Jeremiah Vincent gets up and going there. Or that's Josiah Vincent, apologies, of the 4, who was able to at least get a little bit of air through 2. And you know, if you get unsettled out of 1, trying to rebound, especially with that going on, along with Tyler Cadd getting unsettled through 4 and 5 there. Looks like the 16 going to lose a lot of crucial positions. Now going to have to settle back to 14th behind Joey Barrett and the bow ties machine. Going to stay single file, but now this little clusters of cars going to be able to get past the 16 as we take a look back to see what happened to Tyler Cadd.
They were trying to potentially overtake, trying to figure out which direction they were going, obviously on the inside, and tried to get it stopped. Oh, as we have a really close call. It looks like the 34. Was that Garrett Austin? It was. So Tyler Cadd gets back by, and the Slipknot machine looked like they were in trouble for a little while. Plenty of runoff in that section, but how many of those can you get?
Yeah, and especially here, I think for a lot of these drivers, it's just going to be, when do you try to take an overtake if you can, or do you just try to pressure the person in front of you so much to where they miss their braking point, overshoot the corner? Because there's a lot of corners that are going to be high-speed left and right-handers that some of these drivers just will overshoot. It is very easy to do, especially I expect turn number 5 to be one of those corners we'll see a couple incidents at, because the walls just make it so tight, along with it being a high-speed corner. It might be a little bit of a detriment for some of these drivers. As we're looking back here, little bumper cars for that 21 of Corey Hutchinson goes right around into the chicane. They're able to at least get some minor damages, but currently trying to get lapped, or at least turn right back around, as that Ford Mustang got into the back, I believe, of Terrell Wheeler. And now he's just waiting until he gets into a safe spot to rejoin the track and get back onto at least his way.
Yeah, it looks like Ryan Newman and we're still trying to get sorted out, trying to cut it left. Oh, the exact same scenario here. The 43 of Terrell Wheeler now for LGR, trying to get that sorted. Oh, that front end is absolutely bent up. What happened here? Oh, a left front lock. Oh, and straight into the barrier. So basically, with those front wheels locked and really good avoidance there by Ryan Newman, able to sneak around the outside, but that is not a good look. Oh, and here's the 81 now, Martin Plute. The same kind of thing. So drivers, again, trying to turn up the risk factor, and it does not seem like it's paying off.
Yeah, even though the track temp now is down to 101 degrees, these drivers are not getting any easier for these drivers behind the wheel, as the 81 falling outside of the top 10 because of that incident. But all things said and done, not too many major multi-car incidents here, as we take a potential look back here to see what happened. And it looks like the 81 of Martin Plute just coming out and just getting way too wide into that corner and able to save it at least. Nothing major, nothing into the tire barriers. But it is so easy, especially here with just going from asphalt to concrete, you know, the different racing surfaces. Each corner, you just got to take it a little different just because of quite literally the surface below the tires. And missing those braking points could mean the end of your night. And we talked about it before, James. If you're hitting it at the wrong spot, if you hit the wall, especially in turn number 2 like Terrell Wheeler did, and you want to come down pit road, you got 14 more turns, buddy, including a couple chicanes that don't technically count as turns to get through. As it looks like, I believe that's the 87 of Canute gets unbalanced there. He's going to be able to keep on going, though, as we stay green, going to lap number 4 now.
kind of activity we've got. Oh, I thought we were going to go bowling for a second. Oh, and again, it's potentially not even a right front lockup. I think just both fronts just locking, just trying to get these cars as we get air. I'm so surprised that the rears come off the ground, but again, I mean, these next gens, they weigh a lot, but these drivers still able to get them airborne like a Yaris as we head down into turn 4. A little bit of spice between Sylvia and Austin for 16th position. And around the outside, like that is still Linus Stern at the moment.
Garrett Austin and Justin Mello mixing it up here for the 16th place position. And with this being a road course and really a very novice course for a lot of these drivers, especially in this car and track combo, one of the drivers being Justin Mello said that he's not going to be going too much faster than what he is right now. So he is going to be hoping to at least keep it in one piece, which is definitely, I think, what would be my mantra coming here to San Diego is, you know, try to keep yourself in one piece. Obviously, endurance racing, it feels like that's also a mantra, but especially at a track where you're not kind of used to it, and it might be a little more tricky than maybe a Sonoma or a Watkins Glen that typically hosts these next gens. I could really see a lot of these drivers just taking it easy outside of Jordan Fisher, who's now got to about 3.5 seconds as we hop on board with the Twisted Beer Motorsports machine of Martin Plute, trying to track down the 11 of James Goodwin. And the 11, not somebody that's easy to tackle whenever you're trying to take a position away from him. But right now, that 11, currently he's sitting P7 in points and trying to have another good points day. And that's going to be starting if he can try and hold off the 81 here as they're coming into the last section and just passed through turn number 15, going to turn number 16. And it looks like the 8 actually might have had to cut that chicane potentially due to overspeed or something along the lines. That Vincent Motorsports machine keeping on going. They're going to have to give back a little bit of time. You can see he's getting a little slow on the front stretch. And all things said and done, still green, still going after 4 complete laps here at Naval Base Coronado.
On board here with the 81 as we take off into turn 2. And this is only going to help the onboard car's case. Martin Plute trying to get the power down. It's incredible how important trying to get those rears hooked up so you can take as much speed as you want in, but once you get a really good exit, it's a combination of 2 or 3 really good exits when it comes to road courses, trying to put the pressure on the driver ahead and then basically kind of having one decisive move, kind of going straight down the inside if you can, or at least kind of upsetting the guys. Both cars get tight and hit the wall, and that's going to allow the 97 to come on through. That's Joey Barrett, who has already made up 3 spots and is looking for more.
Right behind him, you can see the 81 of Martin Plute and the 16 of Tyler Cadd. We're side by side for the moment, but going through the tightest part of the track is not going to be the easiest, going through turn 6 and turn 7. But it looks like all things got fizzled out there, and everyone going to keep on going through turns 8 and 9 now. It's important to note which turn these drivers are in, and just remember where you're really passing, potentially going to have your passing points, especially, you know, at later parts of this race where we see now the 97 Joey Barrett able to get past the 11 of James Goodwin going into that chicane. Great job by the 97, and now about 3 car lengths ahead of James Goodwin there. All things considered, these little pack of 4 cars unrelenting to each other, just passing each other, and really, if any of them slip up at any moment, that's just going to give them potentially an opportunity to gain 3 positions on track. And it sounds like we might have a couple of incidents earlier, or at least during this lap. We'll take a look first at the 22 of Mark McFadden. And it's going to start all back here, James, where it looks like the Jawbone Motorsports machine went headlong.
So you're left front and absolutely nothing there. So trying to open up the entry, but a little bit shallow. And just trying to pick that braking spot, especially with how wide this track is. As you can see, it's almost like a shopping mall in certain spots. It's so narrow. There's no space. And then it just opens up, as Ben Mashburn again. It looks like almost everything we're seeing is the front pushing, right? The car's getting tight, and we're either seeing lockups or the car just kind of pushing on. And not too many issues with the rear, it seems. Drivers, of course, used to that oversteer and being able to kind of correct that. Pick up Jeremiah Hobbs, Jeremiah Hobbs running a 2-minute, I believe it was a 2-minute 13 or so. 2-minute 13.5 is their best lap, running 2:14s at the moment. One of the quicker drivers in the top 10. And the 88 seems to really hook this up.
Yeah, and his Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series debut, the 88 seems to be doing well as it stands. As we look a little further back, Tyler Catt again trying to see if he could get around the 11. James Goodwin ends up on the outside, and Justin Mello barely gets by. And Garrett Austin gets a hard hit by the 16 as he was trying to rejoin onto the racing line. He was quite literally on the racing line, so it looks like it's going to be a rough one for the 34 because of that as well. Mark McFadden, you can see rolling back out of pit road. He's going to be the first driver a lap down here in San Diego. But looking further back in this field, Stacy Hunter in the 71 trying to hold off the 34 of Garrett Austin. And this is the part where, you're getting through 6 laps. Oh, it looks like a good incident here. Potentially, I believe that's with the 23 of Mashburn got sideways. He's going to lose out on some good time there as we're going to take a look back to see what happened. And looks like the 23 going to be a victim of one of those high-speed left-handers and has actually towed back to pit road. So unfortunately for the 23, his night is ultimately over after that incident with the tow link. And with these next gens, the tow link is something important as we look at Ryan Newman dive into the inside, coming through the final set of corners to pick up P18 away from Garrett Austin. That 15 going to keep on rolling, though, doing a good job as Garrett Austin. Remember, he had damage. He's going to bring it down pit road as well to repair some of that. Looking a little further back here, the battle for 20th ongoing between the 43 of Terrell Wheeler. And right behind him, you got that 82 of Munatsi Major, who, remember, he is your points leader. Trying to keep up and get some good points out of Naval Base Coronado is his top priority, and right now not sitting in a great position for it. He is going to gain a spot because of Garrett Austin, but now just breaking into the top 20 while a lot of his other competitors are further up in the field. Must not feel good for that 82, but for now, the only thing on his mind is trying to get past his 43 of Terrell Wheeler. And now we're kind of also in the spectrum of when do these drivers kind of start thinking of battling against this random caution that might be in, coming up here soon. We're getting into lap 7 now. And, it's going to become a part of when do I pit if it doesn't come out before the fuel runs out. Because even though tires are typically something we talk about, the fuel strategy here, if you get yourself to lap 20, you'll be on the very far side of the pit window. So we'll see a lot of drivers probably coming in about 10 more laps. But all that being said and done, that random caution, I think, might be coming into play here sooner than later, especially with how strung out the field is now.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting how, again, as you mentioned, the fact that the field is relatively spread out in certain sections, and lots of drivers having tons of confidence, other drivers finding it a little bit tricky out there on track. And I think that there are a couple of drivers that should be able to come into the pits when they like and still not really be affected by the caution. I guess we'll just have to kind of see how the complexion changes, but still have quite a good amount of battling. But again, even when you're by yourself, I say by yourself, even when you've got a decent gap in front and behind, this racetrack, I talked to a couple of teams beforehand, and they were saying it felt like a boat, and sometimes it kind of looks like it when they're just bobbing and weaving over the waves of this track. Well, we spoke about off-camber corner, I guess we haven't spoken about off-camber corners yet, but again, the road kind of falling away from you and disrupting, like, for example, that braking zone right there. There's just so many aspects of just trying to keep the rear end behind the front end there in the backdrop. It's such a tricky track. And again, I mean, this is a monster. It's the size of the Circuit of the Americas. it's, again, as you said, it's about 3.5 miles. So it's even just to memorize how to attack this track. It is a lot for these drivers.
You know, officially with 16 turns, but technically a little bit more than that. I think a lot of these drivers came into today because obviously this naval base is meant for more war than actual race cars. As James Goodwin headlong into the wall behind Justin Mello there. Hard hit for the 11. He's going to at least be able to reverse it back onto the track, and I think going to be able to stay in front of the 5 of Quentin Sylvia as he's coming in the frame there. The 5 trying to avoid the 11 as he's going to be hurting on the front end, and there goes Tyler Cadd in the 16 as well. And now James Goodwin has some major damages to the 11. We'll see if he's going to be able to limp it back to pit road. He's about 1.5 miles away from pit road as it stands. But we're right on board with what happened to James Goodwin. We saw it live, and he really locked it up, sending it right into turns number 6 and just headlong into that wall. And luckily, there could be worse ways to hit the wall, break a toe link, or nonetheless also have to end up with some sort of meatball flag. But still, that aero damage, along with just the overall, just the pushing and, the tightness that's going to come with that damage is going to be hurting that 11 machine. As now we're jumping with the Vincent Motorsports drivers, who are both now within a second of each other, almost right bumper to bumper as they come across the stripe there for lap number 9. Josiah Vincent currently in P number 10, Jeremiah Vincent in P number 11, and Joey Barrett right behind him in the bow ties machine. As the 4 hitting the wall and collects his teammate of the 8 of Jeremiah Vincent, as it looks like also Jeremy Canute got into the wall. That might, I don't know if it had anything to do with what the 4 did there, but he hits the wall hard and collects his teammate in the process.
Wow. Changes in an instant. They are running together. But first of all, we got the 87. Have a look at the issue here. We're kind of in the middle of the road, moving over to the right, trying to open up the corner, up against the wall, and we just get tight. Oh, do we keep it out of the barrier? Just about. So they're kind of parking up. McFadden coming through, and then the teammates perhaps maybe they're basically looking at the side of of one of the next gens. Just sat at the end of the braking zone, so I can't imagine that was not off-putting, but still really unfortunate for the 4 and for the team.
Lost about 12 seconds because of that whole ordeal for the Vincent Motorsports machine, so definitely not helping their day as they now fall back 2 positions behind Joey Barrett, and Justin Mello was able to get past him. Now looking back to this battle for 19th, Terrell Wheeler, Nazi Major still really glued to each other, and also Jordan Fisher. Now you see him actually lapping these 2 organically, coming through, breaking them up, and that 35 not really dominating. He is 3.5 seconds ahead, but Nate Lesko has held on to that gap for the last 5 or 6 laps here, and that 17's not making it easy for the 35 to purely just go away, be on his own little island, and not have to worry about if he wrecks, he could even get back and not have to worry about anything. That 17 has been doing a good job. You can see the comparison there between that iRacing machine of Jordan Fisher and Nate Lesko. And Lesko has been right there, not falling back too much, along with Philip Scott, who is right behind that 17 of Lesko as well, applying a little bit of pressure. But the top 3 podium positions right now, doing a good job of staying relatively within 5 seconds of each other, because then you got about 10 seconds back to Ethan Amberg and the rest of the field here, as it looks like the 8 of Jeremiah Vincent gonna miss that chicane yet again. He's gonna have to go through, give up some time to James Goodwin, and he's gonna bring it down pit road. And you can see where pit entry is prior to that last corner, turn number 16, where these drivers are gonna have to bring it down and commit into pit road. And it's a relatively simple, I would say, pit stop, or at least a pit road for a street course, comparison to some others you might think in the real world. But all things being considered right now, Philip Scott still trying to track down the 17 of Nate Lesko, as they were getting by, I believe, some other drivers there. But all things considered, still about 5 seconds back of Jordan Fisher.
Yeah, we spoke about Philip Scott as we're having a look on board, getting to see how basically there's almost no margin, right? We get right up next to those barriers, those little cones, and we're really stretching the performance of this next gen cop car. We're going to, again, come through turn 1, sling it through, get a little bit of air on the way into one of the heaviest braking zones on the track. Sling it into the left. Our opponent missed the inside corner there. We're now within 0.8 of a second here of the battle for second position. So the 17 trying to kind of get away. But Philip Scott has been also handling the lapped traffic very, very well. Nate Lesko, I believe, had about 1.5 seconds to almost 2 seconds. And obviously that is now with maybe about 0.5 second or so. Trying to work on this lap traffic is going to be very, very important for trying to either keep those gaps up or chase down somebody's wheel, or turning in very early and still trying to get it stopped. Yeah, the 43 running in 19th at the moment, trying to get it over to the left. And as we're hearing that Mark McFadden, Jawbone Motorsports drivers, having some difficulty.
You can see it right here. Oh, hitting that tire barrier hard. And almost the hood pops of that 22. And sometimes, you know, it might be better to cut that corner. And I think for the 22 right now, he might have wished he would have, in the sense that just giving up some time rather than some major damage on the front end of that Jawbone Motorsports machine. But he is still going. He is still on track, not having, obviously, any sort of complications. He actually did tow, I'm hearing from our producer in the back. So the complete opposite there, is Mark McFadden's going to be ending up on pit road because of that. So all things said and done, we got currently now 17 cars on the lead lap. Ryan Newman currently the last car, trying to see if he can hold on and hoping and praying for that random yellow to come out to see what happens and what strategies could possibly be at play. And, you know, I don't want to say anything right now. We are watching Nate Lesko and Philip Scott doing a good job of at least applying the pressure to each other, but they're slowly gaining on this 35 of Jordan Fisher, who now it's under 3 seconds between these two and Jordan Fisher just in front of them going down the front stretch here, going into turn number 1. But, you know, given that Nate Lesko has a little bit of pressure from Philip Scott behind, it might be helping his times, as these two have really been doing a good job now, getting it down to almost 2.5 seconds behind the iRacing machine. It's not really a runaway for the 35 of Jordan Fisher, as Philip Scott, and I think we'll be happy if Nate Lesko can catch up to that 35 and maybe those two get into a little bit of a duel and he just sits back and relaxes as they drive around the naval base.
Yeah, well, I don't know about relaxes, but I think that's just me. I think that's just my chickenness there showing. But absolutely, they are catching. So I'm fascinated with what kind of threshold Jordan Fisher will allow if they have anything else in the tank. Well, not in the tank, but on the wheel rims. As you are absolutely right that Nate Lesko has the fire underneath them in Philip Scott, who's hustling number 17 Nesquik. Yellow and chrome blue, being chased down by the darker blue Philip Scott in the 99. And yeah, Fisher may have company here in just a moment. And of course, I was thinking, you know, it's got to be the lap traffic, right? It's got to be them trying to fight through other cars that this is gaining. But all three are currently in plenty of free air, plenty of free space. So they are just trying to run each other down.
And really, right now, the nearest traffic is Ryan Newman, who's the whole Runway Road, as they're going to be running on here, away from Jordan Fisher. So they're not going to really get into any sort of dirty air anytime soon. As we take a look back to what happened to the, I believe, the 45 of Adam Kulikowski here, as they were coming down the straight, and just those bumps, you saw how much really that car was just jumping all over the place, and the little input that could happen down these straights could be the detriment. You can see this Toyota Camry just running down those rocky roads, sends that 45 into a left-hand thrown into the wall, and definitely at least a toe link break for the 45. He's going to have to limp it right back around. And he was running P number 21, and looks like he's trying to just at least keep himself busy, as the 17 of Nate Lesko is going to bring it down pit road early, try a little bit of an undercut, which is what I was going to bring up later in this race. Obviously, you got 3.5 miles each lap you don't pit at this massive track is going to be a lot of time you're giving up to your competitors, And for Nate Lesko, he's trying to take as much advantage as he can, bring it down pit road. You can see getting fresh tires and fuel to try and track down Jordan Fisher. And it looks like now Philip Scott's going to be at least trying to track down that 35 until those two bring it down pit road.
Yeah, 17. I was going to say blinking early, but more like just really having the confidence in the car. So again, they're going to have to go much longer on these tires relative to their competitors. But I mean, they were all trading blows. Oh, it was almost a little bit tight, maybe a little bit chilly on the tires. They should be, again, track temp well over 100 degrees, so should be getting up to temp relatively shortly. But there's a little bit of a kiss of the wall there from the 7th place Jeremiah Hobbs in the 88, trying to trace down Christopher Darling, who also has been rubbing the inside apices of this Qualcomm circuit.
And obviously now Nate Lesko, he only fell down the 5th. So really that 17 not taking too much track. He's not losing too much track position by coming in. You can also see the 9 of Jake Niparis has bought it down pit road as well. And Nate Lesko, he doesn't have many cars really to battle with now. You can see he's on pretty open road now to see if he can put down some fast laps ahead of Jordan Fisher and Philip Scott whenever they make their return to pit road. But you also got to note, this is the only race in this 2026 B schedule where the drivers get only 2 sets of tires comparative to the 3 sets of tires they normally get at any oval track and even the other road courses we might go to. So all that being said and done, now if you're bringing it down pit road, you got to think, okay, so I only have 1 more tire sets left to really think about, you know, if you make it evenly from now, 13 laps is about perfect if you're breaking this race into unequal thirds, as Philip Scott's going to bring it down pit road now in the 99, try to see if he can undercut the 35 of Jordan Fisher, who's staying out, and potentially, you know, obviously, like you brought up, James, that it's going to be a longer run for the 35. He's going to be on fresher tires, but if this random caution hits perfectly, it could also help him a little bit. But with not everyone going down the lap, it's going to be a little different of a problem, as looks like Philip Scott going to be able to get out with 4 tires. Ethan Amberg also bring it down pit road for some services to try and get some good time. And there comes the 17 of Nate Lesko. You can see how much time that 99 really didn't really gain nor lose to the 17, as a next quick machine able to get by the 99, but pretty much picturesque of what they were before. And now you can see on the track map, you know, going through turns number 3 and then going through turn number 4, that they have a lot of ground that they potentially can gain on the 35 of Jordan Fisher with this open track, James.
Yeah, I think right now, if they want to have a look, as we're going to catch a replay, I think they want to just chill out as we pick up the white and mint green 71. Jesse Hunter, apologies, having a look here now at the 5 of Keaton Sylvia. Oh, on the bump. Oh my goodness, that was an even harder hit, and the right for good measure. Oh my goodness, that was not pleasant.
Man, that is so much air going just down the normal straights for these next-gen cars. And again, another victim of just these minor bumps. And again, you know, this is a street course, one that, you know, is not meant for really racing, and that is obviously the elevation, the little elevation changes along with what comes with the street course is just something you got to think about whenever you're practicing throughout this week. And I know from at least driving around this track, just playing around with it, that it is, you know, at times, how did I just do that? And, you know, how did I just wreck down the straight? And it's real easy to do, as Jordan Fisher, the TI Racing machine, now going to bring it down pit road with Josiah Vincent and a couple other drivers who are going to be sitting on pit road. It looks like the 35 has going to really taken the bullet now to try and bring it down pit road. I think Cosmin Ayanoshu is going to be the next one to see if he brings it down pit road or is going to inherit the lead in the 24. As we're going to watch Jordan Fisher see if he hits his marks and see how much of an advantage potentially the 17 and 99 got from staying out.
Yeah, this will be interesting here. So trying to see if Fisher emerges in the lead. Have a look here at the 24. So, oh, and there we go. So a change for the lead, and I bet you the 99 is going to get him down the inside. Yes, they are. It has to go defensive, though. Extremely close margins.
And a Good run for Philip Scott, and an even better run for the 17 and Nate Lesko, who inherits at least for now, the provisional lead when Cosma Nyanoshu brings it down pit road. Jeremiah Hobbs and Christopher Darling both bring it down pit road as well, a little further back in the field. But for now, all eyes are going to be keeping themselves towards the front to see if Nate Lesko and Philip Scott can stay away from Jordan Fisher. He's got a 2-lap difference on his tires comparative to Philip Scott, or I should say the 17 of Nate Lesko, and then Philip Scott as well, now going to be 1 lap ahead of him. But still, these three on pretty equidistant strategies, and it'll be very interesting to see how the podium shakes out here, as they're all within a second of each other, which is exactly what you want to see. No one really running away from each other, but also it hasn't been too crazy up here yet, but the 35 is trying to apply the pressure to Philip Scott in a 99.
Yeah, if I could have set this up the way that I wanted, like if it was a production, I think that Lesko lacks maybe a tenth or so on a long run to Jordan Fisher per lap. It seems Fisher is behind these two. It's not the easiest to pass around this circuit. As they have a look down the inside, again, it's the exits, setting up a good exit and then diving it down the inside and gets them on the exit. It's a fantastic move from Jordan Fisher, who picks up potentially net second place, or definitely net second position, trying to go after Nate Lesko. But these top three, again, separated by very, very little, and Jordan Fisher having to get it done. And you see, it wasn't even on the brakes where you normally see a move down the inside on a road course. It was just getting the power down and just getting a nice, smooth application, trying to keep the wheel as straight as possible. And the results were enormous.
Absolutely. That's the first time we've seen a pass organically really tonight, in the sense of just putting your nose in there and just going too wide through a corner, see what happens. In the 35 of Jordan Fisher really seems to be on a mission. When he's on these fresh tires, it seems like that iRacing machine is on a different level. And Nate Lesko is now next on the chopping block after Philip Scott now falling back to a second behind the 35. So maybe Fisher might be taking a little bit care of these tires this time by. We'll see, as he's going to look to the inside of Nate Lesko going into this left-hander here. They make contact, but the 35 and 17 able to at least keep themselves going forward. 17 minorly into the wall. He's going to regain into, maybe it looks like down the straight, take back the lead. Philip Scott's going to get himself back into the picture. I believe Jordan Fisher might have let the 17 have that back, as obviously that might have been a little bit of too tight in that iRacing machine, caused them to get together. But all things considered, everyone keeping it still forward as the iRacing machine. Now Jordan Fisher is going to line it up again for this left-hander. He sticks it in there, and he gets a little tight in that back end. He saw a jump out from behind him as he was trying to lock it down to not get into the 17 yet again, as we take a look back to what all happened here before this.
Look, you're on board with Nate Lesko. Coming up through the bumps. Down the inside, a bit of a hip check. And again, trying to go that narrow. And the 17 did get into the wall. 35 moving across to basically allow them on through, which will again bring Philip Scott. There's only 6/10 in it between the three. And as we saw, and now Jordan Fisher up to the lead. So Nate Lesko getting their pocket picked once again. And here comes Philip Scott.
Fisher going to be leading these three. You could just see how red those tires are getting, how hard they're getting on the brakes, as we're going to look back to what all has transpired to get that Ford Mustang into the lead, as Jordan Fisher was trying to just figure out how to get back around the 17 without really trying to shoulder check him. And here was the opportunity as they were making their way through the left-hander into the chicane. It was just a daring way to take a move and try to get that lead back, and 35 was able to do so in commanding fashion. And back to the point is that 35 of Jordan Fisher. And now Nate Lesko gonna have to formulate a way to get at least to the back bumper of the 35 and set up a good move, because you know Jordan Fisher has done a good job at least, you know, finding at least where those passing moments can be and where those passing zones can be. But just here, I feel like it's easier to try and pressure somebody, obviously, and get around them if they make a mistake. But if you're driving with somebody like Jordan Fisher, really anyone in this top 3 or anyone in this top 5, it's going to be hard for them to make a mistake and give up that position willingly. So we'll see if that 17 is going to be able to do something. And James, I was going to make a point here, and I was trying to see if I could get stats on exactly how big the carrier here at the naval base was, and just how, even though this track may seem huge, the actual scenery around this track is even bigger, with between the carriers and the runways, all the different equipment and machinery that's around this naval base. I have, outside of GTA 5, seen only one area, one carrier or one, I can't remember the name right now, but they pick up the shipments of cargo, and you move it around, and just the pure scenery around this track, just seeing it in pictures, I could only imagine, just being a spectator here as they brought in the temporary grandstands could only be a scenic race to watch. I don't know if, James, you've also been to any other tracks that have been amazing to kind of just sit and not really watch racing, but also look at the scenery. But I would imagine this would be at the top of my bucket list.
Yeah, it is quite a impressive venue, and we're getting an impressive race as well. Lesko is not going anywhere. It looks like Philip Scott may also be brought back into this just because of the sheer fight up ahead. And we see it sometimes in karting where you have a majority of as 2 wall strikes. You can see how much they're pushing. I don't think Philip Scott got a piece of that wall, but they are really starting to try and get this done. It's almost like we don't have 20 laps to go, which we do. And if we get 20 more laps like this, I can't imagine how this is going to go down. And again, a little bit of a bumper from the 17.
And Lesko is not going to be going away, it looks like this time. He's not going to let the 35 of Jordan Fisher at least have that 3-second gap immediately, as the 17 still giving a good bit of play to the 35 of Jordan Fisher, as Tim Branson, you saw there, get out of the way in a hurry to try and hold off from what was going on here. And all things considered, Jordan Fisher currently in the Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series currently has 2 wins on road courses. Obviously, this is the first time the Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series has made their way to Naval Base Coronado. So he's trying to see if he can etch his name in history by winning tonight, but he's got a long way to go, as we're going to take a look back with the 87 of Jeremy Canute, the rookie, trying to see. We saw a couple times tonight he's gotten into some troubles.
Oh, hang on to it.
Oh. Ooh, I thought Ryan Newman was going to be caught up in that one, and then just right after that, Canute almost into the wall, had to lock it down though, and keeping that Burger King machine in one piece.
That made me think of those the Gran Turismo license tests where you have to accelerate to a certain amount and then brake in a certain way and stop at a certain distance, and that looked like we got within 3 or 4 feet of that wall without making contact. So obviously not what the Burger King 87 was going for, but that's kind of what that made me think of as we pick up. This is the 33 here of Christopher Darling. Trying to have a look at Hedgecock. So this is well inside the top 10. And of course, drivers kind of getting stretched out, but starting to kind of pair up. And this race is definitely not over. It's a big moment there. Wide moment for the 18.
Yeah, just like that, Bryce Hedgecock, the rookie, going to be moving further back into line. He loses out on the 7th place position. And Hedgecock currently sitting P8 in points, doing at least a good job this season of getting the points when it matters and keeping it at least consistently in a good position, trying to get another top 10 for the 18 is atop of his mind, as he lost it out to Christopher Darling there in the 33. He's got about 8 seconds back to Jake Niparis to see if he can hold off the 9. You can see now only 11 cars on the lead lap, as we're going to be, Jeremy Canute in the racing line. He actually has to take a tow back to pit road there, as Jake Niparis and Justin Mello going to be coming out. It's about a second apiece away from each other, about 13 seconds back from Bryce Hedgecock. We'll have to take a look at what happened back there with Canute and company as he locked it down. It looks like through turn number 6, going into turn number 7 here. I don't know if that 87 ever really recovered. Ooh, the 9 is going to get into the wall because of it. I don't think any toe link damages, but Niparis was just waiting for the 87, I think, as well as Mello. That is such a blind corner. I mean, that that is going to be a detriment for maybe the 9 later on, as we're going to join up to the battle for second. Jordan Fisher pulling out to 2 seconds ahead of these two now, as Scott and Lesko we're going to be battling it out. Looking back to what happened to the battle here, Lesko got loose at a turn number 2, gave the position to 99 of Philip Scott, and now Philip Scott inherits that second step on the podium, and still now pulling a second ahead of Nate Lesko, who seems to be maybe slowing up a decent bit because of that all. He got about a second behind the 99 of Philip Scott through that whole section, or that section 1 of the track here, and 2 seconds back from Jordan Fisher. And that time by, he lost another second to Philip Scott in sector number 2. So that 17 might be hurting a little bit here on this second set of tires.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, obviously we have a long way to go, as it looks like Stacy Hunter letting Ryan Newman by. Ryan Newman, in the intros we had for the rundown of the grid, wearing a tie. I don't think I've ever seen anybody show up in a tie for the starting grid. So that was kind of an interesting look there. And of course, Stacy Hunter, see a little bit of left front damage on that Mustang. Still pounding around. Speaking of damage, potentially these two trying to take avoiding action around the 87, who was parked up in that Red Bull kind of left-hand tunnel almost, if you want to call it that. Barely wide enough for 2 cars. And when you come through there on the racing line, it's basically single file just about. This section right here, you see how narrow and blind it is. This battle's brewing quite nicely here.
And to know Justin Mello, who started in P number 22, currently up to P10, today's biggest mover so far, and he's trying to keep on going. But Jake Nipperis right in front of him, where Nipperis started in 9th, currently in 9th in that 9 car. So currently it's all 9s for the Nipperis machine, but for now, it looks like the 53 of Mello is going to try and change that, trying to track him down every lap. These two run in very similar laps, and it just seems like one sector Mello's better, and the next sector Nipperis is better, and it just seems like a tug of war for these two to see exactly when that 53 maybe will get around the 9. But for now, it seems like he's going to have to sit behind him in that FTF machine. As all things considered, Nate Lesko falling back, I think now 2 seconds of Philip Scott, as Scott is still trying to track down the 35 of Philip Scott. All things getting settled further back here, as Joey Barrett just behind these two, the last car on the lead lap, praying for a caution, because right now he has about this little straightaway up into about, about a half mile to the leaders, all that being considered. And while we have a moment here, we're going to take a quick read here for those who keep the lights on here for around Naval Base Coronado, starting with Beer Street Journal, the sponsor here tonight for one of the largest online collections of original content dedicated to covering beer culture and education and the advancement of the beer industry, with thousands of articles, millions of unique sponsors, and exposure in over 200 countries. Beer Street Journal is paving the way to enabling category growth, engaging a broader consumer base, and promoting better tasting beer for years to come. BeerStreetJournal.com, the best in beer. Again, that is BeerStreetJournal.com, the best in beer. And, James, we got past the halfway mark. We've been talking a lot here, but, through this opening first half of the race, what's one thing you think these drivers have been taking away so far?
Well, I mean, to be kind of a smart person here, I would probably say the right front, the left front lockups. We've seen drivers who have looked quite strong. They've really been in battles, and they've kind of lost the ability to do battle with the cars that they were around, that they were kind of naturally on pace with, by just making a mistake very early in the race, and the whole race seems to have been kind of a fight back. I can't name all the drivers that's happened to on one hand, because it's more than that. This track's so punishing. You think about other famous road courses that are extremely bumpy, but also it just changes, right? You go into this really tight tunnel, and then all of a sudden you have all this space, and you're trying to find your braking zone, and then it narrows up to, 2 cars wide. And it really is such a punishing circuit. So there are some drivers who are really kind of feeling the line around here, and there are other drivers who, again, they're just trying to figure out their braking zones. They're really trying to get comfortable. Somebody not too comfortable is Jordan Fisher, by the way, who's lost another maybe about a quarter of a second to Philip Scott, who maybe, I'll put a big old question mark on the end of this, maybe was holding back a bit. Seemed like they had a bit in hand. Fisher obviously coming in 1 lap later, but even though it's a 3.5-mile circuit, I don't think that Fisher has anything in the way of better tires. And here comes Philip Scott.
Philip Scott, you can see those brakes are glowing red as he's trying to catch up to Jordan Fisher here. While he's trying to track down the 35, we're going to take a step back and let you ride on board and hear the roar of that 99 as he takes a ride around Naval Base Coronado. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Greater Vancouver Motorsports Pioneer Society Base 129 here at the beautiful Naval Base Coronado in San Diego, California. Happy you could all join us here on Green Flag TV. Yet again, I am Brad Daniels, alongside me, James Newton, and behind the scenes making us sound and look good is Nolan Rempel. As all things considered, a lot of cars are strung out throughout this naval base, but the battle for fourth ongoing with Ethan Amberg right in front of Cosmo Ionoshu. You can see both of these cars. We were right along with that 24 of Cosmo Ionoshu throughout the entirety of that lap, and there was times where he was getting out of sorts, but also it looks like the 14 isn't the most comfortable driver behind that wheel right now. Granted, this track is definitely not the easiest thing, especially with this next-gen car, but all things considered, these two have been stuck to each other the past couple of laps, and Ethan Amberg has been doing a good job of keeping it at least straight and keeping himself in front of the 24, but Cosman hasn't gotten an opportunity to get around the 14. As another thing we haven't noted is there are so many straights on this track that at times, we might want to think about, just how are you taking these straights if you're potentially getting any sort of draft. I don't even want to say that word here, but, there is still a good factor on getting a good runoff out of these corners to get a good run into these straights. And for right now, it seems like Cosmo Ionoshu has not been doing at least enough to get alongside the 14 at any point as they come through turns number 6 and 7. And going into now this left-hander up at turn number 8, you can see Philip Scott right in front of these two, where he brought it down pit road. We saw him jump into pit road as a 24, getting right up on the back bumper of Amberg there. These two definitely used to being around each other on track. And here in Naval Base Coronado, it seems like it's a 3-horse race, but it's all getting kind of shuffled around as Jordan Fisher 13 seconds ahead of Nate Lesko. As we're going to take a look back at the replay here, James, on what happened with Tyler Cadd.
You're going to pick up the 16 here. And that is, well, first of all, the right front is not facing the right way. Obviously pointed inward. Oh, it's just shimmying and shaking. That is a broken next gen. Oh! And 2 in the wall. My goodness, that was not a small accident.
You kind of take some of the lessons we see. Oh, there's Tyler Cadd right there. I think he had to cut the chicane because that right front is not going to be able to take a lot of these corners too easily. As Adam Kulikowski going to have to bring it down pit road, and the 17 of Nate Lesko having to bring it down pit road. But you can see he's got a lot of time lost on Philip Scott. He's going to be down pit road and going to be pretty much all and away from the 99, potentially going to be falling behind the 88 of Jeremiah Hobbs, who has been doing great in his Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series debut. And still keeping it up there, P number 6 as it stands right in front of Christopher Darling as we turn away. Cosmo Ionoshu finally able to get inside of Ethan Amberg, and now able to inherit that 3rd place as it stands. These two, though, have to bring it down pit road, so provisionally right now, the 24 able to get the job done, got in front of Ethan Amberg, and going to see if he's going to be able to pull away. And all things now keeping their eyes on this 24, these two in a little pairing, and the 88 at 33 of Christopher Darling in a pairing. Outside of that, those are really the only 2 pairings that are for position as it stands. Everyone else just trying to keep it in one piece. As we see the 33 looking like he's going to get limpet around the chicane there, missed it. And all things considered now, of the 33 of Christopher Darling, going to have to lose a lot of time now to the 88 of Jeremiah Hobbs, who's going to continue on pushing to try and see if he can get a good result in his debut.
Yeah, Hobbs really, really impressing. Not a stranger to these cars as the 53 goes around. That is Malelo, who is running very, very strong. Again, the biggest mover forward. Still in the top 10. And Jake Niparis able to nip back into 9th. What happened here? The 53 seems to have been on rails. And maybe ushered out. Oh, and a snap. A strange snap after, it looked like after the traction zone. What a strange one. It's almost like the front hit something. Obviously, there's nothing there. Strange one there is now Joey Barrett able to get around Malelo, who is now pitting. So they will be falling outside of the top 10. And
this track we talked about before has concrete, has asphalt, has even technically a different type of asphalt for these for the Navy. But all that being said and done, Navy and Air Force and all the military nonetheless that uses the site, it's just a different type of track for these cars to try and see. You can see it's kind of blending in the turn 2. You can see the fading little spot on the inside corner of turn number 2 there. You can see the tire marks starting to improve here in turn number 3 as both of these drivers trying to keep on going here. The battle for third ongoing, about 6 seconds back from Philip Scott, and got a little bit of lap traffic there right in front of them, but still Ethan Amberg trying to track down the 24 Cosman and No-Shoe in that beautiful 24 machine, trying to see if he can get himself back onto the podium. We talked to him last week and he seemed like he was indifferent about Naval Base Coronado, and right now sitting in at least a good position to try and repeat a podium position as he's going by the 5, going to see if he can at least not worry about any lap traffic. Lose some time with Ethan Amberg though, the 14 to the back bumper coming to turn number 7 now. He's going to try and get a good run into turn number 8. Nothing's going to come to fruition, no, as a 24 going to be at least planting himself right in front of the 14, as the 14 did to him, trying to give back the offer he gave him. Maybe a little switchback here by the 14. It looks like he didn't get a good run, though, to really let that loose. And I think right now they're on the surface of the track. That is the hardest to get good traction on, especially in this back half of the race. So there goes the 14, locking it up, missing the chicane altogether and losing a lot of time to the 24s. He's going to have to pay that back little by little. And Cosmonai No-Shoe is going to have to at least be on his own little island for the first time in a long time, pulling away in that third place position.
Yeah, we see all these different moments that are making up the complexion of the races. We're having a look. It's like Ryan Newman in that asymmetrical Mustang. Top of the downshift. Oh, we're not going anywhere. We're headed straight for the camera. Beach mode baseball forward into the wall. 87 Jeremy Canute as well, getting tight potentially. No, we're out of danger for the moment. Heading through. Oh, and just a really early apex. And we're trying to peel it off the wall there. Oh, it's hard left now. That is a left-hand down car.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these drivers were also chalking this race up to potentially either be, if you're good at road courses, you're going to get a good points day out of it, including Jeremiah Hobbs here. We're watching this 88 do some wonders in his debut. He fell behind Christopher Darling at the moment. We're taking a look back to what happened with Hobbs, and there's turn number 5 right there. That high-speed corner, it's deceptive, and the wall comes up on you real quick, and that's what happened to the 88. But it looks like the damage isn't critical. Definitely going to be hurting for some speed, though, as he's now back 3 seconds from Christopher Darling. You could just see the dents on that 88. And hopefully he can maybe limp that thing to pit road to maybe get those wheels back in alignment. All things considered, yeah, you can just see it from really any shot from that front angle. Those tires are definitely going to be needing a little bit of help to be facing the same direction on both sides. We'll see if Hobbs finally making it back to pit road, if he's going to bring it down pit road, and he does, to repair those damages and get his last set of tires as we're entering the last 11 laps. A lot of these drivers also got to note, that competition caution here that randomly should be coming out. When is that going to come out and potentially help some of these drivers and hurt others, like Jordan Fisher, who's still on track from that lap, about 16 laps. Oh, Stacy Hunter in the game glass machine facing backwards. Philip Scott involved. A huge hit for the 99 and potentially a huge hit for his chances as he's falling back behind Cosman and No-Shoe now, and a lot of time given up to the leader of Jordan Fisher. We'll take a look back to what happened here.
Getting down into one of the tighter corners. Oh, it's just a really trick. Oh, and that basically had to park it up. So the 71 trying not to go anywhere to be predictable, but is an absolute wall in front of the 99 unintentionally. And the 71, a sweet little pirouette afterward, trying to keep. And now we have a little bit more flurry of activity. So Cosman Ionoshu coming down pit road. A little kiss of the wall in the right front. No cosmetic damage, but we saw a little bit of confidence lost from the 24. Still able to do battle with Ethan Amberg. As well as Joey Barrett, another one of the larger movers, running in the top 10 majority. Now picking up Tim Branson, trying to chase down our championship leader, who's all over the place and is a very early turn in. We make it out of the corner. We kind of do. And that car does not seem healthy, the 82. It's riding over the bumps, but the suspension, I would not be surprised if the suspension is basically toast, as again, really early turn-ins.
And oh, there goes the 24 of Cosmo Noshu. Looks like he got a little flurry there coming out of the corner, but all things considered, it is not a good night, it seems like, to be somebody in the top 10 in the standings right now. Cosmo Noshu, since he only ran one race so far this season and it being a win, he's currently not in the top 10. But Ethan Amberg, currently sitting third in points, is the only one in the top 10 right now, currently sitting in the top 5 in this, at least in the running order as it stands. And that's going to become a little bit of a problem for some of those drivers like Nick Kaufman, who sat out, it looks like, the entirety of this race so far. Munatsi Major currently still in 18th. Not a terrible day, but the 82 was hoping maybe for a little bit more out of this race in San Diego. But right now, it looks like also Jordan Fisher going to bring it down pit road along with the rest of this field that has not came down pit road. There goes the 97 of Joey Barrett into the wall in front of the 14 and 24, but he keeps it front, and we keep on going. Bryce Hedgecock, Christopher Darling, and James Goodwin all down pit road, getting those last set of tires as we have 9 laps to go here tonight. And, you know, in any other capacity, any other race that we go to really throughout the rest of this season, 9 laps to go will be in no time. But that is still a good portion of this race. It's still a quarter of the ways that these drivers need to figure out how to get to this end of the race in one piece with the tires they've got on them, because they have no more sets of tires. And if we've seen how degraded these tires get and how tricky it can be at the end of this race, when that yellow comes out, at this point, if it comes out, you know, it doesn't feel like it will ever come out at this point, but you know, it just feels like the drivers are just going to be getting on these worn tires and getting on way crazier kind of scenarios if this restart does happen. As you can see, the rest of the field bringing down pit road, a majority of them, actually all of them, going to be a lap down, just trying to get those last set of tires to get a little bit comfortable here for the final 9 laps. As we look a little further back, it looks like the 18 of Bryce Hedgecock was trying to take the 8th place, or hold the 8th place away from Justin Mello, who's rebounded up into 8th now. Still your largest mover, up 14 positions now after getting past the rookie in the 18 machine in the U.S. Army 18. But for now, Mello on a mission. It seems like he's got 21 seconds, though, up to Jeremiah Hobbs. So right now he's got to be a little confident until the competition caution comes out, if it ever does.
Definitely. Have a look here at Ryan Newman here, and the 15 has a meatball flag. This is not looking good, and again, we're not quite up next to the wall, and it just seems just like an unhealthy car, and still trying to get it kind of stopped. Oh, just trying to let the 71 go on through. But you know, we talk about tires and tire temps and really optimizing the way that you are tackling these cars. If you have a healthy car or not is becoming one of the really big, you know, either you're part of the club or you're not. And, you know, regardless of how much skill is involved in getting around the track, just having a healthy car kind of puts you into the running. You pick up, I believe this is the 21, Corey Hutchinson, currently in 16th position. Now have a look here at Munatsu Major. Heading through, that's an early apex, and there's, oh my goodness, I think we were trying to turn right to potentially spin it the other way around, kind of do a 270, and I don't think that worked out at all. Again, I'm not quite sure that's what was going on, but it looked like there was a very hard right hand down, as now like the 24 has gotten it done on the 14.
Welcome back here for the battle for 6th behind those two. Jeremiah Hobbs trying to hold off the 33 of Christopher Darling. And that 33 and the 88 have really just been the bestest of friends, it seems like, in the entirety of this mid-section of the race. Haven't seen them get away from each other, and it seems like, yet again, that 88 of Jeremiah Hobbs trying to hold off the 33 of Christopher Darling this time. And now coming through turn number 6, and it's just seeming like that GameStop machine doing a good job of just keeping himself calm, collected. He hasn't had too much major damage, as you do see on the right front a little bit of crinklage, but still keeping it going in front of the 33 of Christopher Darling, who's not somebody that you want to see in your rear view mirror at times. He definitely is going to be somebody that's going to give you the little bit of pressure that you need to make a mistake. But right now, Jeremiah Hobbs, in his debut here in the Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series, doing a good job of keeping himself cool and collected. And, with Munatzi Major, I was going to say that's a place where we don't see the tires come off the ground comparative to a lot of the places on the track so far here tonight. And coming to 7 to go here tonight from Naval Base Coronado, I'm expecting a lot of these drivers to kind of, I expect these little packs to happen, but when this yellow flag does come out, just the absolute calamity that might ensue from that Christopher Darling diving it in there real quickly on the 80 of Jeremiah Hobbs. Hobbs is definitely going to get a good run out of the corner, going to pull a lot of time on the 33. And it looks like he's going to bring it down pit road, actually, as we're going to take a look back to see exactly what happened to the 82 of Munatzi Major yet again. Whoa.
Oh, kablamo. That's what happened. An explosion. And we're off to the dusty side, but that's not the only thing that car is kicking up. Wow. Yeah, we were also picking up on that battle between the 88 and the 33 as Darling peeled into the pits and Jeremiah Hobbs still holding on to 6th position. That 88 has basically 3 wheels on it. That right front did not get fixed to my eye. That right front is still scrubbing, and it's not scrubbing a little bit. It seems like it's scrubbing a lot. The 88 is still flying around there. And I for one am extremely impressed with literally one hand tied behind their back. The 88 is still pounding around.
He's doing everything he can to will that thing into a good result here tonight. Garrett Austin for Gold Octopus Motorsports going into the outside wall very minorly, but still another hit for the 34, who's trying to get a good result out of tonight to continue his run in the top 10 in points. Currently sitting P22, so he's going to try and keep on running here as we see the battle still for 4th ongoing. Now Ethan Amberg falling back to almost a second behind Cosmin Nyanoshu going into turn number 6. And you can kind of right on board. We were talking about how blind this corner is, and you could just see that you cannot see anything in turn number 7. So whenever that whole ordeal with Stacy Hunter and everything happening in the turn number 7, you get no real vision, especially also into turn number 8 here. There's so many blind corners and also some blind chicanes where you just got to hope and pray. And, even if the spotter makes a call out, it's still just a blind throw in the dark kind of day where you're just throwing that car where you can. And here it is. The caution finally comes out with 6 to go here tonight. Jordan Fisher taking that yellow flag. Now he's going to inherit the lead. Everyone going to be on the stream. Same strategy there. It looks like maybe Ryan Newman possibly was in the wall there when the yellow came out, but everyone going to get it back together, and the yellow flag finally comes back out. And for Jeremiah Hobbs, he's going to be jumping back up with the rest of the field, and he's going to be the recipient of the Game Glass Lucky Dog. So this Lucky Dog is brought to you by Game Glass. Game Glass turns your phone or tablet into a custom control panel for your favorite sim games: Star Citizen, DCS, Flight Sim, or iRacing. You name it. No more forgetting keybinds, just tap and fly. Try it free at gameglass.gg or use Hunter71. Again, that is Hunter71 for 10% off on a subscription. And, it is an honor for Jeremiah Hobbs in his debut to receive a Lucky Dog immediately after the top 5 here were the only 5 drivers on the lead lap, because Jordan Fisher was putting down some very fast laps here tonight. So everyone's going to have to take another lap around to get back to the pace car. And, without any real, pit strategy at this point, everyone put on tires. Everyone should be good on fuel. James, it's just going to be re-racking them up. And we haven't seen this since, obviously, lap number 1. But in your eyes, does anyone have anything for this TI Racing 35, especially because now it seems like he's been putting himself on an island?
I think that this causes massive jeopardy for the 35, just being near other cars. Obviously, the 35 having that, I was gonna say duel, that three-way fight, the trio up at the front. Earlier on in the race, the 35 has been able to show that they're made of tougher stuff and got back up to the front. And again, pitted later than their competitors, 10 plus seconds out in the lead. Smooth sailing. And I think that a good restart is what is required from the 35. I don't think I've seen any serious. I think the only thing I saw was on the inside of the 17 when the 35 kind of gave an unintentional hip check into one of those quick left-handers, one of those sweepers. Other than that, I haven't really seen them put a foot wrong. So I think the 35 just getting a good restart is really what it's going to be about. Now, if they get swamped, I couldn't tell you what happens to the 35 after, going back to 6th position or something like that. I think that there's a big opportunity for everybody else. And, it really is, obviously, it is the 35's race to lose.
Yeah, and Jordan Fisher has been really the face here tonight. He's been the one to get it done. He can get past anyone he wants, but it seems like that 35 is on a mission. But, in the meantime, while we have some time here, looking up on the schedule for what is coming up next on the Green Flag TV side, starting off with the Apex Hunter Motorsports W12 Formula 1 Series at the Nürburgring Grand Prix Stricky. And then after that, you see on your screen here, also on Saturday, the FTR Almeida Racing Academy Endurance Series at Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, and aka Interlagos. It's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then starting next week, the High Tide Racing League takes on Kentucky Speedway at 9 p.m. On Tuesday, the Silver Fox Racing Late Model Championship takes on Southern National Motorsports Park. And then on Wednesday, you'll want to tune in at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to see where the Beer League takes themselves. And all that being said and done as well, then the Beer Street Journal as well on tap. You can see what's going on here for the rest of the season and including the TNR schedule. And throughout July, you can see all the different leagues they've got going on here, including the Speed Cup Series, and just a little eye on exactly what is going on throughout the entirety of July and what has happened so far. So thank you again for Beer Street Journal for being a sponsor here tonight for the final race here in July at the Naval Base Coronado. And some things to say, James. There's a lot of races coming up here on the schedule, but this race had a lot of time back about a month ago. And tracks where we might be going to, I think also the NASCAR Caswell Glass Company Series is going to Daytona on Wednesday, but all that, or Thursday I should say, but next week, these caution flags take a little bit of time, but also probably going to help a lot of these drivers mentally get back into the mojo, get themselves rolling and feeling better about themselves if they maybe had a little bit of not the greatest of first. It's not even the first half anymore. You can call it the first part of this race. That's probably the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, I think that this kind of interlude, if you want to use a kind of a pinky in the air kind of phrase, I think that this interlude, it will not hamper the spirits of the drivers who were eating into their competition 1 second at a time, drivers who are really in the groove. I think they'll be able to find that groove again. And obviously there's not too much time left to go, so they're really going to have to get straight back on it, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think however, it does, kind of on a positive note, it does help the drivers who maybe were, missing apexes, getting really squirrely out of traction zones, locking up that left front again and again and again. Those kinds of drives, you really feel like you just want a couple minutes just to kind of recoup, get around some other drivers and see if you can work right. Because these guys, they are so used to running 2 wide, sometimes 3 wide all the time. 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time with a car next to you. It's insane how difficult it is to run those types of oval races. And so with this type of, walls everywhere and, braking zones that are extremely long, even for a track that doesn't really have, that much high speed, as we have a couple of drivers heading into the pits. Looks like most people who have some pretty significant damage heading into the pit lane. As Hobbs leading the way, Tyler Catt in there as well. Another driver has not had the easiest evening by any stretch. And 21 of Hutchinson as well. Looks like everybody on the lead lap has stayed out. But yeah, I think that it's not going to hinder anybody who is kind of on the charge. I think it will help people who might just need a little bit of a breather.
And, we started out the season at Echo Park, and, to your point, James, at all times, it is side by side and rare to see maybe some single file action, at least when we made our way down to Atlanta. But, when we went to North Wilkesboro, still side by side. But Indianapolis last week, a little more single file action like this week. And then you have Iowa next week. And then you got a pairing of Richmond and New Hampshire. Once we make our way into the Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series in-season bracket challenge, it's going to get a little interesting. I think it's going to be a good collection and diversity of tracks that is obviously a very different situation than this. But I think, getting ourselves back into the feeling of going from single file back to some 2 wide action, because eventually we do make our way to Daytona and then Darlington to finish out that in-season bracket challenge. So a lot of these drivers will get back into that feeling in no time, but for now, they're going to have to get to 2 wide eventually under this caution. But while we have a moment here, we're going to take a step back here, collect our breath, so we can get ready for the final couple of laps here tonight from the Naval Base Coronado. So we'll be right back after this sponsored message for the Greater Vancouver Motorsports Pioneer Society Base 129.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Greater Vancouver Motorsports Pioneer Society Base 129 in the beautiful San Diego, California Naval Base Coronado track. I'm Brad Daniels. Alongside me, James Newton. Behind the scenes, Nolan Rempel is making us sound and look great. And for the fourth race here for the Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series 2026 B season, it has been a marathon for a lot of drivers, and currently right now it's going to be lining up to be a very interesting end as we have everyone racked back up, including Jordan Fisher, Philip Scott, Nate Lesko, Cosmin Ionoshu, Ethan Amberg, and Justin Mello. Those 6 drivers currently the only driver is going to be able to battle it out here when they go to green here with 2 to go. It's going to be everyone trying to chase down that TI racing machine of Jordan Fisher after they were able to really track him down, the 17 of Lesko and the 99 of Philip Scott. But since then, that 35 has seemed to be on rails, and he's got 2 more laps, about 7 miles to prove he can win here again in the second season to try and retain his championship. As you see, the pace lights are out on the pace car, and that 35 fishing machine is going to try and see if he can do anything about it, as the pace car is going to make his way back down pit road. Philip Scott on the inside, Jordan Fisher on the outside with Nate Lesko to his back bumper, and we are green here in San Diego.
Really good jump by the 35 immediately away. That's exactly what they needed. As the 17 gets a little bit wide into the side of the 14, everybody's still facing the right way. That was a really close call there, Brad.
Yeah, further back, it's getting a little chaotic for all these drivers. They're still on those older tires. You got to remember, a lot of these drivers took their last set of tires when they brought it down pit road about 10 laps ago. So everyone a little bit of worn tires, but they're cooled down to say the least. And it looks like everyone's back to single file here. Jordan Fisher out to about a second ahead of Philip Scott. Nate Lesko was actually able to rebound after getting some contact with the inside wall in turn 1, and now has rebounded, keeping himself in the top 5. But for now, that last step of the podium is going to that 24 of Cosmin Ionoshu after winning last week. He has a possibility to try and see if he can jump Philip Scott for that second place position as we look further back into this mid-pack for a lot of these drivers who are 1 or 2 laps down. You know, it has seemed like a war zone here as everyone was actually getting used to being back around each other again.
A humongous moment for Cosmin Ionoshu and 14 of Ethan Amberg. Amberg is 3rd in the championship. Nobody else around them championship-wise is really in the picture as the 4 of Josiah Vincent backs it into, again, that really tight Red Bull. And that left front is all out of alignment. The 21 of Corey Hutchinson potentially the wrong way around. Somebody else trying to drag their way out of it. We pick back up with Nate Lesko falling back. So Nate Lesko trying to get up into the back of Amberg as we catch another replay. It's pandemonium.
And again, those Vincent Motorsports machines were around each other yet again, but this time it looks like the 4 of Josiah hard into that inside wall and collects his teammate again of the 8 of Jeremiah. And those two had some pretty substantial damages here with 2 to go. And now it looks like the 21 of Hutchinson and that's 45 of Mav Kulikowski cleans him right out, trying to dive it to the inside, and he just locked it up and sent them both into that retaining barrier in the outside wall. Coming to the white flag here, it looks like Jordan Fisher is going to be taking that white flag, brought to you by the Golden Octopus. The Golden Octopus is a unique fashion accessories brand where music and style come together. The Golden Octopus creates handcrafted bags and accessories inspired by world of music. Whether you're heading to the concert, traveling, or looking for a statement piece with a story behind it, the Golden Octopus delivers original designs that celebrate creativity, craftsmanship, and individuality. You can find the Golden Octopus on Instagram or go to www.thegoldoctopus.com. Again, that is www.thegoldoctopus.com. And on this final lap, you know, this is probably the only time this season, as we're not going to go anywhere that's relatively close to this long of a final lap, where Jordan Fisher is taking the white flag but still has a long ways to go, about 1.2 seconds ahead of Philip Scott, and no one else in those two area code. Oh, Fisher hard into the wall. He's going to lose a lot of time. Substantial left front damage gives the opportunity to Philip Scott. He's going to inherit the lead because of that wreck in 6. And now Fisher's going to have to try and track down Philip Scott. When we thought this race was over, it is far from over, as the Ford is going to be hard into that inside wall. And now he has so much trouble, so much damage to try and get through these final corners. I don't even know if he'll finish in the top 5. As that toe link is broke, he's going to have to go back to pit road. And now a lot of positions up for grabs here. Philip Scott's going to inherit the lead with Cosmin Ionoshu, Ethan Amberg, and Nate Lesko now battling for second with the 24 in front of the 14. And Lesko trying to rebound to get back into the podium, as now Ionoshu, Amberg glued to each other's bumpers here, coming through one of the final straights. Ionoshu trying to see if he can defend, while Philip Scott is celebrating his own little, right now, just at least being in the lead. He's still got a long ways to go, as they still have a couple of corners and one final chicane to go through. Ionoshu holding off Amberg for the moment as they're coming to the final chicane. Here comes the 24. He's going to keep himself in front of the 14, but here comes the 99 of Philip Scott. He's going to win it here in San Diego for the Greater Vancouver Motorsports Pioneer Society Base 129. Here comes the 24 of Ionoshu. Ethan Amberg finishes third. Nate Lesko fourth. And way behind them, Justin Mello and Jordan Fisher are actually going to be on pit road, as we have a close battle between Bryce Hedgecock, Joey Barrett, both finishing right there. And you can see some other drivers, including the 9 of Jake Nipperis, trying to hold off the 88 of Jeremiah Hobbs. It looks like Hobbs, in his Speed Cup Series debut, is going to be able to take home a top 10 with him after having a very solid day. That 88 going to be ending up behind that 9th place position of the number 9 machine of Jake Nipperis.
Oh, and they're wrecking back here as well. The 71 hard to the wall. Stacy Hunter still not across the line. Still not across the line, and it's just a car park here. Does the 71 back up? Yes, they do. Right into the path. Oh, actually be able to split. Ryan Newman coming across. Absolute chaos to the line. Potentially a bit of too wide action as we're going to catch the exit. Oh, the 34 went around. The Slipknot Mustang. So that's what's got everybody backed up, and they're literally going 10, 15 miles an hour, trying to just kind of get their way through that hole. And basically it's just now literally a drag race from almost a standstill. Who has the traction? Oh, look at that, enforcing it right up the inside. And then it takes them forever to get across the line. And then right here, this moment, we have 2 cars. So Hutchinson goes to the inside or the outside and just about splits it, almost flips the car. Oh my goodness. What a crazy finish here in San Diego.
And that was for position 2, and they barely got in front of Ryan Newman, who also came across the line right after those 2 got out of the outside wall. But congratulations again to the 99 of Philip Scott, who has not won a road course race here in the Speed Cup Series. And tonight he's going to be able to not only take home his first road course win, but he's going to be able to be the only one here in Speed Cup Series to take home a race here at the Naval Base Coronado. You can see it's his first win in almost a calendar year. Last time was September 3rd of 2025. And being at Gateway after he started 3rd. So the 99 back in victory lane. And again, Cosmin Ionoshu and Ethan Amberg going to be the 2 joining him there. And we'll see where the 99 decides to burn it down. Obviously, he took his long time to get back to the start-finish line. And we'll get to see at least Philip Scott celebrate yet again here in San Diego and burn it down. And James, I don't know if anyone was expecting that crazy of a real final lap there.
I cannot believe it. So obviously the 99, one of the trio earlier on that were really fighting for the lead. You see the 99 burn it down here on the traditional start-finish stripe. We've also seen a couple of drivers that have won at this track that have tried to go and celebrate near an airplane or an extra bit and actually fallen through. Basically getting disqualified because of that, but nice and traditional, ruining all of the good hard work they do on the start-finish line. And rightfully so. Philip Scott had plenty of pace. The 99 ran a really good race. The only thing we really saw were close battles and overtakes from the 99, and they were there when they needed to be.
and they were there for the lap that mattered most. Philip Scott's going to take home the win here from Naval Base Coronado. And right after him, Cosmonai and No Shoe for FTF Racing going to finish second. Ethan Amberg from Highline Motorsports going to be finishing in third. We'll talk to those three here in a moment in the Bow Ties post-race show. Right after that, Nate Lesko in the 17 for International Rep Podcast going to be finishing fourth. Justin Mello for the FTF GG Racing Machine going to be last car on the lead lap. Jordan Fisher, heartbreak on the final lap, still going to be ending up in sixth. The rookie Bryce Hedgecock going to be ending up in seventh. Joey Barrett in the 97 finishing in eighth. The 9 of Jake Nipperis, love that ninth place that he finished in it. In the final spot in the top 10 is Jeremiah Hobbs in the 88.
Really good debut for the 88. Josiah Vincent had an up and down day, finishes 11th ahead of James Goodwin in the 11. Stacey Hunter sideways and every which way across the line in the 71. Ryan Newman coming home 14th, and it's Branson Hutchison 3 laps down. Then Jeremiah Vincent 17th. Terrell Wheeler 18th. 19th goes to Christopher Darling. Garrett Austin bringing up the back of the top 20.
And then pushing through the final cars that did not have the greatest of nights here tonight, including the 16 of Tyler Cadd, the 22 of Quentin Xavier Sylvia in the 5 machine. Adam Kulikowski finishes in 23rd. Munatzi Major 24th. Jeremy Canute in the 87 and 25th. Martin Plute in the 81 finishing in 26th. Mark McFadden finishes 27th. And then Ben Mashburn in the 23 finishes in 28th. And then Nick Kaufman and Scott Leonard did not start tonight's race. Well, thank you all for watching. But first, before we get into anything else, we'll start up the Bow Ties post-race show with the message from Bow Ties. Want an easy to wear bow tie? No tying, no strapping. Just slide it over the top button of your shirt and go. Great for all ages. Get yours today at bowties.org. Again, that is bowties.org. And tonight we are going to talk to those drivers we saw at the podium positions, starting out with the 99 of Philip Scott, his 4th win here in the Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series, and the first one on a road course, Philip. And first off, congratulations. Tell us how just everything pretty much kind of fell your way here at the very end.
Yeah, it made up for my bad luck at before the yellow, because I really felt like I had the best long run. Like in a single lap, nobody could beat Jordan, but this kind of, this package with the high horsepower and no diffuser really it suits my driving style, and so I'm really my strength is long run, and I was able to really gain on Jordan long run, but the problem was so I pit a lap earlier than I meant to, because I didn't want to get caught up by the yellow, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to pit at the yellow, and then I was just kind of saving my tires, but I knew that I had enough pace on the new tires to undercut Jordan, so I was just kind of balancing that out, and then the 71 had an unfortunate spin right in the middle of 12B, blocking me, and he was kind of just stuck because there was all the people behind us, so he didn't really have anywhere to go, and I don't blame him or anything. But then, so that kind of cost me 15 seconds, and so then I knew, okay, and Jordan was about to pit, and so I'm just like, okay, I know that I kind of have to save my tires here and hope for the best. And then, yeah, the green-white checkered, or it wasn't technically green-white checkered. I was just trying to make sure that I stuck it around the outside. Nate had a mistake, which left me clear. And then I kind of just was pacing myself with 2 to go, because I knew that once I got into a rhythm that I could close the gap back up to Jordan. And I closed in like 4/10 by the time we got to the Red Bull chicane, and I felt like I would have been at his bumper by the last chicane. And but he made a unforced error. I was quite surprised, and so then for the fortune went back my way. But that's just how it is. I feel bad for Jordan because he also definitely had a good shot at winning, and he pretty much had it there. So, but yeah, it was it was a lot of fun to survive that race, and all my practice paid off. So I'm really happy about that.
I was gonna say survival seemed like, you know, it was the main key for tonight. Leading up into the race here tonight, how comfortable were you with this track and car combination?
Yeah, I love this kind of track. This is, I mean, it's the hardest road course that NASCAR's ever been to by a mile, um, but it's my kind of style. Lots of bumps. You gotta really wheel it, and really keep the car under you. The rears wear really bad here, so just because of all, you know, the tarmac and the track just soaks up the heat so much. And so, yeah, I was pretty comfortable here. I really like road courses. Road racings, I do a lot of GT3 racing too, so I'm pretty comfortable at a street circuit. So I've always, in our Speed Cup, in our Monday night league, TNR, I've won a lot of road races in that. So I've been always, ever since I joined this league, I've wanted to win a road race because I'm usually up near battling for a podium at least. And so it was really nice to finally get one.
Absolutely, and you can go home and we'll probably at least rest a little bit because it was a mental marathon, I bet, behind the wheel. But before we let you go and go celebrate, is there anyone you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, obviously shout out Highline Diecast. Thanks so much, Ken, for sponsoring us for another 2 years after this season. So 4 seasons he's committed to. So that's really awesome. And we get such good fields. And I'm really happy that everybody, shout out to the whole field for braving it out today. We had 30 cars at the hardest street track pretty much ever made. So I'm very happy that enough people came out, because even if it was really tough. And yeah, and then shout out obstaclefactory.com.
Well, thank you for joining us up here in a booth again. Congratulations, Philip, for an amazing drive here tonight. And you know, you can go home, celebrate, and maybe rest a little bit before we catch you next week in Iowa.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, man.
And that was your winner here tonight for the Greater Vancouver Motorsports Pioneer Society Base 129, Philip Scott in the 99 machine, putting on a phenomenal drive. And we're going to toss it down trackside where James Newton has caught up with our second place finisher, Cosman Ianoshu.
Hello.
Cosman bringing it home P2 after some serious battling the entire way. It did not look like an easy ride for anybody, especially with the 14 all over the rear. Looked like you guys were dueling the entire race, and then that basically what culminated into almost a green-white checker right at the end. You were able to get it done. How was the race from your perspective?
Well, I came here with one goal: survive and get the maximum of points that I can, because we're not even on the board yet, with having missed 2 races early on. That put me in a pretty bad spot. So like, I've been on a recovery mode. It went pretty well last week, but this week, I mean, I did not expect to be talking to you guys today. Honestly, like it was literally just survive, and that's what we did. 0x, and nobody mad at us. Yeah, that's, you know what, I'd call that a good road course week.
Especially at a place like Coronado, so many walls, so many ways to get it wrong. And we saw your competitors, especially kind of up near the sharp end, really battling it out. And it seemed like you weren't really in that top 3, but as the race progressed, you and the third place finisher as well kind of brought yourselves back into it. And then obviously getting a good restart, kind of having that composure. What does it take to go flying through the almost flat out right-hander at Coronado on a restart like that?
I mean, you just have to not hit the wall, to go as hard as you can without hitting walls, you know? That was my goal, and I think we accomplished that. Ethan and I were battling for like half the race, like the latter half of the race, we were on each other's bumpers, and that was really fun. Ethan and I have had really clean, really hard battles the entire time that I've been running in this league, and I appreciate him for it. Really glad Philip won. I'm really happy to see Philip back in victory lane. He's been He's been missing there, and yeah, it's been a good race. I've had fun. My first laps on the track were yesterday. Like I learned the layout yesterday. Like I practiced for like an hour or two. I usually do that for road courses. Otherwise, the practice is done when the server goes up.
Next time out, going to Iowa Speedway, and the Highline Diecast bracket kicks off as well. You spoke about the points. How are you feeling about Iowa next time out?
Iowa's a fun track. Last time we were there, I remember I think something happened that cost me a good finish. And I don't know. I feel like we're gonna have a good run at Iowa, if barring nothing out of the ordinary happens.
Anybody that you'd like to shout out or thank tonight?
Of course. After More Coffee, thank you. They're my primary. They're Tiltify, Tyler Manning Designs, Rab's Intro, Simrab Market, Juicy Spider, and Lucky Duck Motorsports, of course. And my own company, Splashing O Graphics. You know, I do paint schemes. And that's the first time I've shouted out ever since we started this league. So, you know, I've always forget about myself. And yeah, everybody who does this league, Highline Diecast Collectibles, and Ryan Newman, and everybody else, appreciate them. Really happy to have a place to run week in, week out, and have fun, and talk about it after the race, and you know. And you guys for broadcasting, as always.
Well, thank you so much for joining us up here in the booth, and Cosmin, congratulations on P2.
Thank you, and have a good night.
And we will now jump back up here into the booth for the final driver that made their way onto the podium, the 14 of Ethan Amberg from Highline Motorsports. And Ethan, considering this is start number 9 here, at least in the road course side on the Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series, you know, this is your 7th of 9 races where you finished in the top 5. You're very good at these road courses, but how did, you know, the Naval Base Coronado feel different than those other road courses you might have tried in the past year?
This is a tough track. It's technical, the bumps are awful, but once you get a feel for it and get some laps in, the track does have a nice flow to it. A lot of the other road courses in the Cup Series are pretty flowy. There's a little bit more room for passing aside from maybe Chicago street course. But once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. Philip, Nate, and Jordan were the class of the field tonight. Those guys are going to be tough to beat no matter what. I think I looked at and they were 40 seconds ahead of me at one point, so I kind of just accepted my fate and it was time to ride, but it was nice to be able to battle with Cosmin for most of the night.
I was going to bring it up, you know, with you battling out with Cosmin, it seemed like you two couldn't really get away from each other, but at the same time, you know, it was more of just like a grind mentally for a lot of the drivers here tonight to just come out in one piece. How did you feel behind the wheel of that 14 throughout the entirety of that long green flag run, and then the technically not green, white, checkered, but also green, white, checkered?
Not too bad. If anything, I think the yellow made it worse because then you just got to sit here in the hot room and wait for it to go back green because those caution laps are almost 5 minutes long. But I am pretty comfortable with endurance racing and longer stints, multi-stints, and endurance races and special events. So that's usually a pretty comfortable spot for me to be. I wasn't too gassed or anything like that. This room does get a little bit hot, though, and it kind of stunk to stop and slow it down under caution. Then you really do feel how hot it is.
And then looking through just real quickly here, but out of the drivers in the top 10 currently in the points standings, you are the highest of them all, the only one that finished in the top 10. How do you feel, at least from a whole season's perspective, along with the in-season bracket challenge starting up next week going into Iowa?
I think I'm just going to try to stay consistent. Every once in a while I have those jumps in the season where I have a couple good races and then have one where it just either falls off a cliff or I make some mistakes. So I'm pretty content running in the top 10 regardless of the track. I expected to run pretty well this week. As you said at the start of the interview, I enjoy road courses quite a bit. Coming from a road background, it comes naturally a little bit more than actually some of the longer ovals do, which feels nice. But I think the goal is just going to be keep it consistent, try to keep the nose clean and keep the car in one piece every week, and hope to come out of it with a top 10 and a good points day.
And then before we let you go here tonight, Ethan, after a long night, is there anyone you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, the field did do a good job tonight. Although the race was hectic and we were all spread out and all over the place with a bunch of different skill levels, I don't think there were too many issues. I heard of a lot of apologies on the radio, so I think the field did a pretty solid job tonight, bar the amount of cars that we had on this tight of a track. Thanks to you guys for putting on a fantastic broadcast, and huge congratulations to Philip. I know he puts in a lot of hard work on the road courses. They're his favorite tracks, so I'm happy to see him get one.
And congrats to you, Ethan, for making it here to the final step of the podium. And thanks for joining us up here in the booth. And we'll catch you next week where we go to the Midwest in Iowa.
Thank you very much, all. Have a great night.
You as well. And that was your third place finisher from Highline Motorsports, Ethan Anberg. And for all of us up here in the booth, it was an exciting one, to say the least. Naval Base Coronado did not really disappoint for us at all. So from up here in the booth, thank you all for joining us here on Green Flag TV tonight for the Greater Vancouver Motorsports Pioneer Society Base 129. For producer Nolan J. Rempel in the background, making us sound great, James Newton beside me, and for me, Brad Daniels, thank you all for joining us here tonight for some exciting racing out in San Diego, and we'll catch you in 1 week's time out in Iowa for another great racing week in the Highline Diecast season. Have a great night, everyone.